Ιλᴏʀᴛဃᴍᴏᴜ
Howdy, and welcome back to Filmland. It is a beautiful day here in Burlington, blue skies, it's nearly 70 degrees, and yeah, I mean, today we are covering one movie, the single movie, the 2022 film, The Northman, from A24, auteur-director Robert Eggers. This is his third film now, after 2015's The Vivitch, 2019's The Lighthouse, which, if you know, me and Connor love those movies. This has been a director we've talked about quite a bit, so you know that this episode was it was inevitable in a way that we were going to cover this once we had heard it was coming out. But I'm here with a very special guest in the Filmland studios, Annika.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for being here.
Yes, of course. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name's Annika Murdock. I'm a sophomore filmmaking major. I work at the rental house. Let's go rental house, people. Great. If you'll probably see me if you rent equipment. I do an okay job. I try my best. I know a lot about film. Huge nerd. If you ask Matt Perillo, he will confirm. And the whole Filmmaking 2 class and Filmmaking 1 class can confirm that I've probably seen every movie because I don't go out and I don't really have friends. But it's great for shows like this, my knowledge. So.
You're in the right place for that.
Yeah.
We encourage not going out and watching way too many movies
for sure.
Here in Filmland. Oh, Matty P. God, I miss his classes.
I was really sad that I can no longer be in his class anymore. Because, like, I couldn't say goodbye on Thursday, like, for the last class.
That was a
but
bummer.
I was like,
yeah.
But, no, he's a super cool guy. And, like, showed some pretty great films.
Yeah. What did y'all watch this semester?
This semester?
Because Film History 2, right?
Yeah, Film History 2.
That's the one.
We watch all sorts of stuff. We started off with Double Indemnity.
Nice.
Which,
Classic.
Of course. He loves noir. Can blame him. I was not really into noir until like that class, to be honest. We saw that. Cleo from 5 to 7, Agnes Varda.
Yes.
I love that movie.
I did an Agnes Varda tier list on the show.
Did you?
All 12 of her narrative full-length features. Took me way too long.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair. What else did we watch? We watched Killer of Sheep. That was interesting.
He didn't show that one in my year of film history. What's that?
It's oh my god! It was made in like 1978, and he showed it for the Black Cinema unit. So we watched that.
Okay, yeah.
What did you guys watch?
Oh my god, what did we watch? I mean,
was it Do the Right Thing?
It was Do the Right Thing.
Was it Do the Right Thing? Yeah. I think we were supposed to watch that, but Julia showed us that. The semester beforehand.
That's funny. Okay, because the thing is, for us, with Do the Right Thing, when he brought it up, he's like, just so you know, I don't care how many of you have seen this is required. If you're going to film school, you're watching Do the Right Thing. That is what happens.
Yeah.
So he was he's always mentioned that there's 2 or 3 films that never change. There's a couple films that can capture a genre. You go to the French New Wave, he doesn't always show Cleo. He might show a different one.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Do the Right Thing, it's one of the things in his syllabus that never changes. That's crazy that he didn't show it. But
I think it's because all of us, or at least the majority of us, were in Julia's class the semester before, and he was
she beat him to it.
Yeah, essentially. I think I've seen that film at Champlain alone twice, and I think I've seen it 5 times throughout my life, and it's
still a classic. It's still good.
You remember how we're supposed to talk about The Northman?
Oh, right. 2022's The Northman. Sorry.
The Northman.
Geeking out about film history too, and Maddie P. All right, so yeah, 2022's The Northman. It came out 2 or 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
And I guess now we have had some time to sit with it.
Yeah.
And think about it, refine our thoughts. If we're going just into it, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I feel like Robert Eggers, I have a tradition with my dad. Every single time his films have come out, I've seen it with him. And honestly, I think this is the only one that my dad has actually liked. He's not really like we saw The Lighthouse together, and he was like, Annika, why do you drag me to these movies? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I could talk about The Lighthouse later. I have feelings about it.
Yes.
But with The Northman, I feel like some people have argued with Robert Eggers that it's like kind of, they're worried that he's straying from his art and like his sort of like independent sort of style, which I can't understand the criticism there.
I can understand that. This is definitely a tonal shift for him in some ways.
Like, I'm not saying that this film isn't disturbing, because it definitely is. There's a lot of violent parts in it, but it's definitely not, it didn't get in my brain as much as I would say that The Witch did or The Lighthouse did, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, it's a less cerebral watch.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because, like, at least the source material that he's pulling the story from and, like, the story he's telling doesn't really lean into that, in the sense that it is a bit more of a straightforward Viking epic saga. For those of you who haven't seen The Northman, it's a film about a Northman, a Viking era kind of myth, legend story that of Prince Amleth getting revenge on his uncle after he kind of topples his father's kingdom and steals his mother away. Which, obviously, if some of you do know the original stories of Prince Amleth, this is also the adaptation of the story Shakespeare used for Hamlet. It's the same one, kind of pulling from that same, except Shakespeare obviously went very different with Hamlet than Robert Eggers does with The Northman. But it is really interesting to see that you have these two very different artists, centuries apart, pulling from this classic Nordic myth. That's The Northman, essentially. I'm not saying it's not Hamlet, but like technically it's like kind of Hamlet before Shakespeare got his hands on it, because it's like it pulls more from like the traditional mythos, I think. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Robert Eggers, he's making some weird stuff. He's making some great stuff. And as much as I love him as a director, this is probably my least favorite of his.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's tough.
I don't know. Okay, to be fair to him, I think considering this is such an epic and large film with like what, a $70 to $90 million budget, I think it is realistic that he probably had to compromise like some more quote unquote like controversial, more like surrealist aspects of it. But I still feel like this film kind of allows like more mainstream cinema to be more experimental and like more fun than like what is like conventional. I feel like we have that, and we have Everything Everywhere All at Once. The two big A24
releases. I was going to mention that. Yeah. This is, consider the month that A24 just had. The insane breakout of Everything Everywhere All at Once from the Daniels, their kind of co-directing team. Who you might know from Swiss Army Man. That was like their last big collab together. Turned Down for What? Yeah. That music video is kind of amazing. Well, it's kind of great to think Turned Down for What? Then 8 years later, there's the masterpiece that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's kind of amazing. Yeah. I don't know. I do have some little minor critiques of Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I think I have to watch it again. I need to watch it. I need to watch it. Again. There's a lot to go through. There's so much to go through in that movie. But, like, consider what a success it's coming out to be. I mean, it's getting so much love and critical positivity. And at the same time, it is working with a much lower budget. I mean, the story of those 6 visual effects animators who did every single visual effects shot, just 6 people in a room making that movie exist, has been, like, going everywhere on the internet. And then you look at a very different movie, The Northman. Yeah. the highest budget Robert Eggers has ever worked with, as well as his like most mainstream cast, like Hollywood actors, like coming out. Like you got Nicole Kidman in this thing.
I don't know how I felt about Nicole Kidman.
She's.
I thought she did a good performance. I feel like that's the only thing that I feel like with the Northman. I feel like they could have had some more diversity in terms of the cast with like having less A-list celebrities. Because I feel like it could be a bit distracting at times. Like Willem Dafoe, although he is great in this, it felt a little distracting, but it didn't feel distracting in The Lighthouse, at all. Like it felt very like, I don't know.
For me, like, let's look at this cast because I think some people slip into the world of the Northman a bit better than others. I think Ethan Hawke is just in it. Yeah. Insane. Yeah. Same with his son, Alexander Skarsgård, and his actual young, I don't know who plays young Amleth.
Oh, I thought the boy, he did pretty good.
He did do pretty good.
He did pretty great.
You got Anya Taylor-Joy. Bjork was the one I was looking forward to the most. And I just got bummed when I didn't get as much Bjork.
I know.
But I was happy to get any Bjork.
I think the last film she did was Dancer in the Dark. It's been like over 20 years, I think. I think she might have been in like a show or something. I think she played herself like in like the late 2000s. I don't remember.
She's done other media.
Yeah,
where
she's obviously
just
a great musician.
Herself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
All
and
of her
like
music videos can
her music, obviously her music career.
Dancer in the Dark.
Oh my god.
That film was so hard to watch. It was so difficult, but she's such a terrific actress, and I want to see her in more things. So I was so happy.
She would act more. Yeah.
I know. There's like, I don't know. She got into it though, and I feel like maybe it was okay that there wasn't a ton of Bjork, because I wonder if, like, it was probably good if we just got a hint of Bjork. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying words at this point, but...
but hey, if you're gonna, you come for the Northman, you stay for Bjork.
You stay for... I'm staying for Anya Taylor-Joy.
I'm also staying for Anya Taylor-Joy.
I have such a crush... Oh my god. Let's unpack this. So the fact that she came from The Witch, I think that was the first film I ever saw her in back in 2015. Yeah. What a stellar performance. That was basically like that was her breakout as
Robert Eggers' breakout. Yeah. Like they began their careers together in this amazing, crazy alt house A24 place.
Yeah. And I feel like he kind of started the whole A24 trend of just like the most dark horror films, like, and just like unconventional horror films. Like he kind of like with modern horror in like the last decade, like that kind of like started from that.
You've got this kind of genre of horror that we've seen very much started right around when Vivitch, I think, in my opinion, I mean, like in retrospect, great movie. I think it was ahead of its time. I don't think it got much. People didn't talk about it as much as I think it should have been. It wasn't until that, like, his kind of twin director, Ari Aster, these two have kind of gone through the route together with A24, kind of like spearheading their horror end of it, comes out with Hereditary, where this kind of genre that these two guys are playing with in very different ways really hits a more accessible note in the mainstream. So... it's interesting to see that the Vivitch, I think, in retrospect, works way better than when it did in 2015. Because, like, people are looking back and being like, "Oh, this was awesome! What a great movie!" And it's also looking back at seeing where Anya Taylor-Joy is now.
Yeah, I feel like she's grown so much as an actor, and we've seen her in so many great films. I don't know. And also TV, like The Queen's Gambit, obviously. Gambit. We're going to talk about that. I haven't seen Last Night in Soho. I heard she did a good performance. It's not Edgar Wright's best film, from what I've heard. I want to watch it. I still want to watch it.
It's worth watching, absolutely. Like, I kind of prefer Thomasin McKenzie.
Oh,
that's just me. But fans of the show will know that Thomasin. We have an award show called the Andes.
Oh, nice.
That happens like every March. Thomasin McKenzie has been nominated every single time. Not by, like, we just love Thomasin blindly. Like, she just keeps dropping great performances. And, she was great in Last Night in Soho.
Okay.
3-time Andy nominee, Thomasin McKenzie.
The highest achievement out there for anything.
Yeah. No, but, like, 7 years later, Robert Eggers and Anya Taylor-Joy come back and collaborate.
Yeah.
And I think this is such like a nice closing of a chapter in some ways with what feels like kind of the first leg of Anya Taylor-Joy's career. Because this feels like her most adult performance.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's very mature because I feel like the character is being written in a more mature state, which is something we haven't really gotten the chance to see Anya Taylor-Joy do yet.
Yeah, because like in The Witch we saw, I feel like the reason why I like that film so much is I feel like it's such a feminine story.
Yeah.
You know, and it like, I don't know, the aspects of girlhood and like being compared to a witch when you're going through puberty or sexual desire or anything like that is just, I love seeing that in film so much. But seeing her like sort of come from like a more younger portrayal of like womanhood to now like very much like adulthood and like even motherhood is like so cool to see, and to see them grow. And like, I don't know, like in The Queen's Gambit, like, you know, obviously she's growing up in like her difficult times, and like we see her grow on the screen. That was great. And other performances, like, what was that film? Not Unbreakable. Split,
yeah.
Split.
She's in Split.
That was pretty good.
She's great in Split.
She was great in that.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see her. I don't know what she's doing next. I know Nosferatu.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
The next one. The next Robert Eggers film.
The next Robert Eggers
film. It better
film.
be.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be. He was supposed to do Nosferatu right after Lighthouse.
Really?
Yeah, he was planning on doing Nosferatu this year because this is the 100th anniversary of the original Nosferatu in 1922.
Yeah.
So it was going to be like this cute little 100 years
that would have
remake.
been so amazing.
And like considering this being like the film that inspired him has been like his favorite growing up. And he's mentioned this so many times in interviews being like, Nosferatu, that's the movie. I can't wait to see his version. He's going to kill it. It's going to be great.
What was that? It was in... There's other Nosferatu in 1979. What was it? Nosferatu the Vampire?
Oh, Werner Herzog's.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was pretty great.
I watched that.
Visually, so beautiful.
It's...
a little slow.
Very
slow. Okay.
Like, it's Herzog and it looks cool, but like, oh my God,
That's
man.
so fair. But the rat scene, that scene is like amazing. I would want to see that. What if he recreated that?
Probably could.
I think he
probably
could.
will.
He probably, if he doesn't,
I gotta imagine he'll pull from both Murnau and Herzog when he looks at making his version. So we'll see.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that we'll sort of come to a more quote unquote like unconventional, like not surrealist, but I don't know, maybe more OG Robert Eggers, if you could really say that.
Like, it's so funny because
it's his third,
he's only got
films.
3 movies.
Yeah.
We can't talk about like he's had some long-standing career. He is still very much a newcomer in this industry. But it feels like Vivitch and Lighthouse are kind of these established moments in just recent film history up to this point where I'm kind of like, I feel like he's been around for a while, but maybe we've been around for a while. I don't know. It's only 7 years between like... Yeah, it's so, I mean, do you know how Lighthouse got made? Or do you know, like, his career getting started, he pitched The Lighthouse in, like, 2014. And A24 was like, hey, we love this script, but how about you make this first, the Vivitch? You want to do that? And he was like, okay. And then he made that. And they were like, this is amazing. We'll let you make The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Which was always like the movie he felt like he needed to make was The Lighthouse. And then he made that, and then he went on to this.
I will say that I honestly could see that because like I feel like The Witch is like such a great directorial debut. And like, but it feels slightly amateur. Like, I feel like with The Lighthouse, you can tell just from cinematography alone and like shot composition, like just how much of a difference there is in terms of filmmaking and budget, and also just like pure like thought process. Like, if he pitched that back in 2014, he's obviously thought about that film for years.
Yeah, I mean, like, he wrote it with his brother, and that was always like something they had been workshopping. Literally for years. Like that. The Lighthouse, as I know, is nearly a decade in the making.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is at least just being like, I can imagine that Robert Eggers can just see every shot before he even gets there.
And it felt like that.
Yeah.
It felt like that.
Lighthouse, for me, that was my second favorite movie of 2019.
Okay.
Just barely being edged out.
2019.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
What a year, dude.
Oh,
I don't know. Okay.
good year for movies.
Good year for film. Yeah. See, I don't know. I can appreciate The Lighthouse in terms of like cinematography and like story and just like how simple of a concept it is, but how much they go with it, and it makes you like when I went out of the theater, I was like, what did I just watch? And it made me have that feeling like The Witch did.
Yeah.
And I can't say I had the exact same feeling with The Northman, but it's such a primal and like masculine film, The Lighthouse. So it's like, it's so gross at times. Dude, you can literally like smell the film. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like too much for me.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, dude.
I mean, it's beautiful, but it's
beautiful.
It's so insane.
Oh my God. Just like the sheer like.
I know that film's in black and white, and I know the other two films are in color, but I feel like all of them could be in black and in the sense of, like, I look back and, like, he uses such muted color tones. Yeah. Where, like, black and white for The Lighthouse, again, kind of feels like an inevitability where I'm like, yeah, you seem like the kind of black and white cinema guy.
Oh, for sure.
I kind of see it. But I don't know. I mean, like, that's another thing. I feel like with the environment that he creates in The Northman, that's another departure. I mean, everything about this film in so many ways feels like a departure from the first two, a little bit, you know? Because it's obviously, so far, every story that Robert Eggers has told in cinema has been something that existed in human history before the creation of cinema. You have the Vivitch in 1700s.
Sounds about right.
Right, I think.
Was it 1600? I don't know.
16, 1700s?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Colonial pilgrims, whatever.
Yeah, colonial.
And then you've got The Lighthouse in 1890. And then this one, which takes place in like 825 AD, I think. Yeah. All of those existing before the creation of cinema. He's taking us all the way back to when film cameras didn't exist, and he's creating these worlds. And each one is very different, and yet this one feels the most modern, even though it's the oldest. I don't know, like, it's weird. Maybe it is just the cast. The cast helps so much with that.
Yeah, I mean, also, I feel like considering the story itself is so old, it might feel like it's overplayed, if that makes any sense, but it's just because it's such an old story. Like, the idea of, like, the revenge film, and, like, especially, like, revenging like the death of your father is like such like it's
a classic.
It's such a classic. So I feel like it might feel overplayed to us now, but it's like, guys, come on, we're in 2022. Like we gotta give him a little bit of a break. Like he went for the original source material. Like there is that, and also, you know, with the big budget and the cast, and I'm sure there was some moments of like compromise and stuff, but at the same time I still feel like it was an extremely strong film, and there's so much I loved about it. One thing, I love the shot composition. Some shots I feel like could have been, I don't know, played with a little bit better. There's that moment where Anya Taylor-Joy and Skarsgård, they're in the boat together, and they have like the neon lights kind of like floating through their face.
Right.
And that was before the tree, like the giant tree moment. We could talk about the tree at some point. And the whole Tree of Life. I thought that was cool to see visually. But that I was like, oh, I could see, like, that seems like something a film student could possibly do if they had, like, the right lights or whatever. Yeah. If that makes any sense. But then you had, like, these other moments. The Valkyrie shot.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Listen.
Before
we get into any of this, we're going to take a quick PSA break. But when we come back, we will go more in depth to the actual details and scenes and set pieces of The Northman. So we'll be back in a sec.
Running late to class but still need that morning caffeine or hot breakfast to start your day out right? Download the Bite app by Sodexo and place your custom order for fast, easy pickup at Zyme. Open 8:30 a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. Mondays through Fridays.
All right, howdy. Welcome back to Film And. We are talking about 2022's The Northman, directed by Robert Eggers. What do we got? Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, Bjork, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe. Great cast. And I guess we'll do a bit of a deeper dive into just the scenes, the set pieces, the creative choices that Robert Eggers made with this movie.
So I'm going to talk about the Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie shot. Bring it in.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Oh, my God. Amazing.
Okay, I have a few questions. Why the braces?
I don't know.
I was going to look that up and I forgot to, but I'm still questioning why the braces. Was it a part of the headpiece or was it like sort of like a modern, like sort of, I don't know.
There's one scene in The Northman. I just pulled up this article from Mashable. There's one scene in The Northman that shows a mythical figure screaming into the camera. It's frightening. She's a Valkyrie, and as the events of the film, but also the immediately recognizable. Wait, is she wearing modern braces? No one asked you. Well, the question has come up multiple times for me in dinner and table conversations with friends and colleagues whenever everyone's mentioned the Northman. Oh, they're a form of teeth tattoo.
That makes so much sense.
Oh, I can see that.
That makes so much sense. Okay, Vikings and tattoos.
We know that some Vikings modified their teeth. Neil Price, archaeologist and leading Viking Age specialist, who consulted on the Northmen. What they did was file horizontal grooves across the front teeth, sometimes one, sometimes several. There are one or two that are sort of chevrons, V-shapes, but mostly they're just horizontal lines. Interesting.
Okay, that makes so much more sense. That's another aspect of the Northman that I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
Was like, there's so much like historical accuracy and just things that you wouldn't think about. I didn't realize, my dad looked this up because he was so curious about it. I didn't realize that like mushrooms and like psychedelics were like such a big thing in the Viking Age. And that makes so much sense. Because like if you're going to be in that like complete primal crazy like state of mind, you kind of, it makes sense that you would be on some sort of stimulant like mushrooms and to experience like that sort of like transcendental state of mind and being when you, I don't know.
Just the crazy dancing around the fire and
that was more tame. We saw like people like, I don't know, you got to see the Tree of Life, you got people see all their future, experience like sexuality and love and passion, but we also saw a complete like suicidal tendency and murder and just complete rage, and it's just a full spectrum of human emotions, and that was so great to see on screen. Although the film is very brutal, like I will admit that, and I think anyone can admit that, it didn't feel gratuitous to me in the sense that like, considering this is a Viking film, they did, of course, touch upon the aspects of like slavery and rape and pillaging of villages, but like especially with the aspects of like sexual assault, I feel like he did it in a great way of like it was like shown, but it wasn't like it was like implied, and I can appreciate that because I feel like sometimes in cinema
it's a tough line to draw because you don't just want to like pan the camera away and it's like wink wink, you know what happened, but you also don't want to just show it outright.
We don't want an irreversible moment.
So I think one of the most commendable parts of this is that Robert Eggers is able to tread that line kind of perfectly, where it's like there's this disturbing nature, but you also just like understand the motivations of characters and the world that like people are living in.
I also appreciate like, I don't know, like with Anya Taylor-Joy, like I think this is like one of the first times I've like seen her like kind of semi or like full nude, but it felt like tasteful and it didn't feel like she was being like taken advantage of like I feel like with other past like male directors. But with this, I feel like it showed like maturity and it showed like reality of the time without like taking advantage of anyone, if that makes any sense, which I feel like is super important in film.
Well, hey, I actually have an article from the 7 days. No, I like the second I saw this, I was like, I need to mention this in the show because this is 7 days has obviously a section that talks about movies. They do movie reviews.
Let's go.
And it's fantastic. I love reading the movie reviews. Sometimes. It doesn't mean I agree with all of them. It happens. You know, we come to disagreements. But I got to give it to Margot Harrison, who got to review The Northman. Liked it very much. 4 stars.
Nice.
And honestly, I read this article and made me like the movie better. But here it is. Like so many historical films, The Northman is as much about our own time as the Vikings. There's little triumph in Amleth's revenge, but because it enslaves him to a self-destructive performance of masculinity and a rigid notion of fate, the latter of which is ironically controlled and communicated by female figures. If anyone is victorious, it's the viewer of this immersive saga who will emerge wobbly-legged, dazed, and probably a little more appreciative of the relative tameness of modern life. And that's how the review ends, and I love that.
I love that.
Like, what a great encapsulation of what this film is in so many ways. I mean, this film plays into the idea of, like, the future and just how that relates to the idea of, like, lineages and bloodlines.
Yeah.
And, like, that's, like, this entire thing is, like, that's what drives Alexander Skarsgård's character this entire time, to get his revenge on his uncle or save his mother and get revenge for his poor dad.
His poor dad,
who was just like,
but
granted they're all crazy Vikings,
but is he actually that poor of a figure though? Because we get to, you remember in the end with Nicole Kidman's character. Can we do spoilers?
Can
we talk about spoilers?
No, we totally do spoilers. We do like.
Is there a spoiler warning?
We usually go like medium spoiler. It changes from movie to movie. Like, we're not gonna say what happens at the end. We won't say if his revenge actually goes through. Does he succeed? We're not gonna tell you. Watch the movie. But there is a turn with Nicole Kidman when she kind of comes out to her son.
Yeah, we find out that she was a slave, and most likely that she was assaulted by Ethan Hawke's character. Yep. And she had to basically turn into the queen and turn into like a more reputable figure. But realistically, she's just trying to survive. I'm not going to condone her actions.
Yeah,
I'm not going to condone her actions.
Really can't. The thing is, I can't.
But
I feel
can
like
understand
I can't.
it.
The only actions of I feel like literally the only people whose actions I condone in that movie are probably Anya Taylor-Joy and Bjork, I guess.
Yeah,
like, that's pretty
literally,
much it. Everyone else is just like.
What did you feel about the black and white sequences at night?
Cool. One word, cool. No, cool. They were fine. The thing is, I feel like it's kind of hard to describe because I feel like I notice it more and more towards the end, right? Other than like that one scene where I think he has that first encounter with Bjork to like remind him, hey, you got to revenge your dad.
Yeah. I
know you've been doing all this crazy pillaging, but time to get to that revenge thing. Let's get the plot moving. Bjork coming in to save the plot. But
as she should.
Yeah, but near the end is kind of when I notice it more, especially because like I love the use of the sword. I love how it can only be unsheathed at night.
Yeah.
And there's this mystery, and he just kind of becomes this, during the nighttime, this shadow. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much cool imagery that gets used, and this is obviously, at the end of the day, if there was a narrative or any kind of through line with Robert Eggers' film, it's that he did his research, and he finds such cool, unique ways to pull from the reality of a time period that he's working in and turn it into something that feels real, but also it's aesthetically interesting and crazy all at once. And I think that's where I end up respecting the Northman the most, you know?
That's probably the happiest ending in all of his film. Well, okay, maybe The Witch. Okay,
like,
maybe.
Well,
kind
it
of.
depends how, like, I don't.
But in Viking culture and in Swedish culture, like, that would be a happy ending.
I was going to say, like.
That's a happy ending.
Lighthouse and *µ*, both make me feel just I don't feel bummed out because I'm like, these movies are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But when I think of the characters, I'm kind of like, I don't feel good for Anya Taylor-Joy in *µ*.
No, I mean, I
like,
guess, like...
she's joining something that's not good. Like, she's gonna get messed up, and I'm worried.
Dude, I don't think she's joining. I think she's joining something not necessarily good, but oh my god, it's so much better.
We can spoil the *µ*. It's been here for 7 years.
Yeah, we can.
If you guys haven't seen
Oh, we could totally spoil it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She kind of joins a coven, correct?
Yeah, well, she joins a coven, but
yeah.
I feel like that's more of a positive spin than like colonial rule and just like complete like.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Like,
it's this idea of liberation in a sense.
Yeah.
But I'm also like with the other themes of witchery, witchcraft that Eggers plays with. It's like scene. Yeah, like these things. It's not all good. Like there's this inherent like you get stuff, but you also have to give stuff.
Yeah, there's a sacrifice with that.
Yeah, and the sacrifices, I'm not sure if they're great enough. And that's the ambiguity that you're left with in the Vivitch. And it's similarly with The Lighthouse. Of obviously, we know what happens to, oh boy, Robert Pattinson. But, like, you know, there's an ambiguity of how you're supposed to feel with it.
Yeah.
Here, with The Northman, I feel like it's pretty clear how we're supposed to feel, in a sense. And it is kind of interesting that he ends one of his movies on a kind of positive note. I don't know.
It's kind of, well, like, I don't know. Like, it's kind of positive, and we also get to see that, like, his children will, like, be okay. One of his daughters will be the Maiden King, which is, like, that's super cool to think about.
He's given this gift of community, of acceptance, of being one of the group with his father.
Right.
And being given, like, the acceptance of lineage. And then all that is ripped away, but he finds it, he might be able to let it live on in the idea of living as legend instead of as self if he does this at the end of the movie. And yeah, that's a really fun conclusion to this movie.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But oh my god. Yeah.
Oh my god. Just that's the review of The Northman.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. But yeah, great segue. Moving into, I guess, like, to wrap things up, The Northman. What did you think of it overall? Like, reactions, thoughts, like, how does this stack up to other Robert Eggers films? How do you feel, you know?
I personally really love that film. I feel like you mentioned that you think it's actually your least favorite, right, out of his three. But at
I don't.
the same
it's not
time,
like I dislike any.
It's
of
exactly.
them.
It's not like you dislike it. I don't know. It's really hard for me. I think The Lighthouse is my least favorite, and I'm so sorry. I definitely need to rewatch it.
I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
I watched it in theaters, like, opening weekend with Connor. We drove down to Albany because that's where it was showing. And then it finally showed up in town, and I watched it with my dad. That's just going.
We both watched
in
The
theaters
Lighthouse
with
with our father.
With all dads.
Don't do that.
It's a
Maybe
trip.
do that, depending on your dad.
My dad didn't mind it. He was just like, "What the hell did I just watch?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know."
I think I have to give it to The Witch because I have such, like, a personal connection to that film. I love the soundtrack. I thought it was such a great directorial debut, and it was such a great portrayal of, like, femininity and just like pilgrims and, like, colonialism and just, like, so many aspects. And it was just, that film made me feel, like, a lot of ways. And I remember when it came out in theaters and we watched it, just, like, suddenly, like, there's no ending music or whatever. It's just suddenly the lights turn on at the theater and you're just like, what did I just watch? And you're just, like, so confused. Because of that alone, I think I'm going to give that as number 1 for me personally. Number 2, I'm going to give to The Northman because I love the movie so much and I have such strong feelings about it. And although it might be more on, like, a conventional side given the budget and the cast, I still feel like it allows, like, cinema goers, like, a great epic Viking tale, which I don't think we see very often in film. Like,
I mean, we've gotten a few. I think if you look at the TV, we've gotten Vikings, the TV show Vikings, and also Game of Thrones. I think one of my biggest issues, at least for me, watching The Northman, like, my personal final thoughts are, I'm just like, not for me. I'm not a huge Viking guy in general.
Okay,
that's why
fair.
I think it doesn't resonate.
That's fair.
Which is too bad. But, like, it's just, you know, that's why I think Lighthouse is completely up my alley.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot more that it plays with for some reason that really resonates with me.
You're a young, angsty man.
Perhaps I am. Perhaps I am, Annika.
And I, you know, I could feel the same way with. I'm a young, angsty woman, so of course I resonate with you. So of course I resonate with Anya Taylor-Joy. I sound like such, like, an idiot film major.
You're good.
Like,
you're good.
It's
this
so
is
bad.
the safe space.
It's
this is
so bad. Like.
No, but it is. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I'm not gonna go on the same level of, like, oh my god, that character is literally me. So
I am not Ephraim Winslow from The Lighthouse. I like that character and I like the movie. Don't need to resonate that way.
No.
No, but, like, I look at The Northman and I look at the Viking narratives we have gotten and I can understand why it might feel jarring to people because it is so far off from, I think, how audiences are used to being told a Viking narrative.
True.
You get Vikings, you get Game of Thrones, and other just Viking films that have
or, like,
come
Viking
out recently.
inspired, or, like,
yeah. Those are very different from this. And if you have an expectation of that going into this movie, I don't think you're going to like it as much.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, not for me. I go Lighthouse, Vivitch, Northman.
Yeah.
You know?
I love how you're calling it Bavitch. All right, the Bavitch.
I call it
For me-
Bavitch. It's
Fair. So for me, Annika's top 3, we got The Witch, The Northman, and then The Lighthouse. But I have very different reasons for liking it, and every film has great aspects to it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to rank because they're all great pieces.
They're all pretty
of
good,
film.
yeah.
They're all good. Like they're.
You can't go wrong with a Robert Eggers
You
flick.
really can't.
Not yet. It's too bad that he's making Nosferatu because he's not going to call it the Nosferatu unless he calls it the Vampire.
Oh.
I would love it if he calls it the Vampire
Yeah.
because that would stick with his theme of naming movies. I would love that.
That would be
The something.
I could, yeah.
I hope he does the Vampire with like a Y.
Exactly.
That'd be amazing.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Okay, we need that. We also rat dinner
The rat scene.
We need that.
Do it.
It is absolutely
Do it, Robert.
crucial.
If you're
Do it.
listening,
He
Mr.
totally
Eggers. If you really are listening,
Mr.
Robert
Eggers.
Eggers.
I'm a really big fan.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you so much.
If you're listening, not only us, but Connor, the old host, we love your movies. Thank you so much for everything you've contributed to the last 7 years of cinema. And you know what? We will leave it on that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in, Annika.
Thank you for
For
having
a
me.
very fun discussion on on the Northman.
On the Northman.
Among many other topics that we
My bad.
went into tangents. It always happens.
It's normal.
As always, if you want to see any of the movies we talked about on the first full seasons of Film And, you can go to Connor's Letterboxd at Cranberry18, the C-R-A-N-D Berry 18. And if you want to see the films we talked about in these past 2 seasons, you can go to my Letterboxd at DA_N.
Oh wait, can I plug my letterbox?
Oh my god, yes. Please plug it.
My letterbox is at Annika the Human. Same as my Instagram. Don't look at my Instagram, it's stupid, but my letterbox, I have interesting films on there. Yeah, letterbox, let's go. It's a social media for film nerds everywhere.
Yes,
Yes.
I will. Yes, go Letterboxd.
I love letterbox.
I love it so much. Okay, talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
Thank you.